listening to the Terra Nova Podcast, a podcast all about the brand new Fox television show, Terra Nova. This is Season 1, Episode 5, Genesis.
The eyes of the world are on Hope Plaza today, as the 10th pilgrimage prepares to depart for Terra Nova, bringing the total number of colonists to over 1,000.
Give me security.
Whatever happens, keep moving.
Sir, I need you to step out of line.
If we go in there, we can't come back.
We will be right behind you.
I won't go without Dad.
Go with your brother.
He's dead.
We'll find a way.
Citizens of 2149, together, we are at the dawn of a new civilization. Welcome to Terra Nova, folks. Welcome home.
Hello and welcome to the Terra Nova Podcast. I'm your host, Albie.
And this is Jordan Pierce Owens.
And I'm Heather.
Very exciting. We just saw the premiere episode, Genesis Part 1 and 2 of Terra Nova. The show is finally here. No more talking about it. We were able to actually watch it. First thoughts on the episode, Jordan?
No, man, I gotta say, it lived up to the hype for me. I enjoyed it. You know, we got a 2-hour premiere, and after those 2 hours, I was ready for a third. Glad to kind of viewing it as a trip. I'm ready to take the trip and see where the show's leading to. What were you thinking, man?
I was so excited when I watched this show. I was wishing that it was like other shows I watch where I had the whole season on DVD. I just wanted to keep watching and make a marathon of it. I was, the whole time leading up to the episode, I was like, please don't suck, please don't suck, please don't suck. Because we're doing a podcast about it, you know, and I didn't want it to suck. But it exceeded all my expectations. I'll give it a 10. I loved it. There was a couple things in it that were a little wonky, but our first show was horrible, I think. So their first show is a lot better than our first show. Heather, what did you think?
Right away, I was hooked on the family connection, and you know, I got right into the story of how the characters all interacted, and I love the storyline. I love the son being mad at the father for leaving, and, you know, all that family stuff was really cool. That it was very realistic in this crazy futuristic world. There was kind of a element that pulled you into something familiar.
So far, we all seem to like this show.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's a good thing. It would be a bad thing to do a podcast about a show that we didn't like.
Yeah, a weekly show of us going, what'd you think?
I've downloaded and listened to some podcasts like that.
Ratings.
We're going to start off by checking out the ratings. The ratings for the premiere of Terra Nova.
Oh, are they out now?
Yeah, they're on one of our friends' pages on terranovatv.net. We got a breakdown of the Terra Nova ratings from the premiere. Terra Nova drew a 3.1 in adults 18 to 49, which is roughly 9 million viewers, and placed third overall. We were hoping for number 1 with all the hype and leading up to it and all the money spent on it. We got third.
Is that bad or good? What do you think?
Considering there's, 5 networks, third is not horrible. It's not what we'd hoped for. It got 9 million people to watch it.
It's not bad for a show that's just starting out, considering some people, it takes them a few episodes to realize there's a new show, or, you know, a lot of people don't watch it right away either.
Oh, yeah. Take it to iTunes and everyone else that's, you know, we're only, you know, a day away from the first episode. It's definitely going to spread word, and I think going to grow. I had a lot of people interested in it. I know I watched it, and separately my parents were into it, my girlfriend was into it. I had a lot of people just on their own finding the show, you know?
Yeah, a lot of people that I know were watching it. It had some stiff competition. It went up against Dancing with the Stars and 2.5 Men.
Yeah.
And those are two shows that really draw a lot of audience. So the Fox really put this show up against the two big ratings getters for the night, in hopes of beating them. So
no, yeah, you put it against two shows that already have an established audience. You know, it's definitely kind of had its work cut out for it, but you know, not too shabby in the long run, going against two people that already have an audience and a built-in core.
Yeah, with the 2.5 Men, they had a two-parter to start off their series. Last week was the first part, and this week was the second part. So all the people that watched the first part, most of them were probably going to watch the second part. And then Dancing with the Stars started last week, and they had 3 episodes last week, and this was a continuation this week. I think the other network strategized how to get viewers to not watch Terra Nova also. And a lot of these viewers don't have DVRs or TiVos that are recording this. They watch one thing at a time. Many of the people might have watched Terra Nova, but it didn't report yet. So hopefully the updated numbers that we get later on in the week are a little bit better with the DVR and the TiVo numbers. So at the end of the week, it'll say how many people actually did watch the show, and hopefully those numbers go up a little bit. I know my house, Monday, is just crazy for the amount of shows that I watch. I do watch Dancing with the Stars. I watched 2.5 Men, but I didn't watch them last night. I'll watch them on my DVR probably tomorrow. There's a lot of other shows that are on. Two Broke Girls, Castle. I can't miss Castle. I watch Castle right after Terra Nova. It's got Nathan Fillion.
I don't disagree with any of this except for Dancing with the Stars, Albie. Really?
Yeah. I like it. I mean, it's beautiful women dancing around in hardly anything. Girls dancing in sequence.
Well, alrighty then.
All right. Hopefully next podcast I'll have better numbers to report once they're all come in. But that's the initial ratings numbers. So we can only get better.
Hi, this is Kevin Batchelder. And this is the Saturday B-Movie Reel.
Shoot it! Shoot it!
That about describes it, yeah.
All right, everybody stay here.
We look specifically at the Sci-Fi Channel's original movies. You know the ones that air on Saturday night.
Be known throughout the ages as an instant classic.
We need a bigger gator!
Limb cutting and blood squirting from...
Flying limbs, I called it in my notes.
What could go wrong?
We look on a regular basis at the movies as they come out, and since there have been over 200 of them, we do go back and look at many of them that are now out on DVD. By this point, I had completely forgotten any semblance of seeing if this actually makes any sense from a plot point of view. So come on by, get involved, and have some fun.
Check us out at SaturdayBMovieReel.com.
Our future depends on it. Make it safe.
And now it's time for the episode recap.
Episode recap.
Terra Nova Genesis Parts 1 and 2. It's the dawn of the 22nd century, and things aren't looking too good for Earth. For starters, the planet is yellow. Having been all but destroyed by environmental disaster, humans, including Jim Shannon, walk through a ruined metropolis wearing breathing masks. Jim returns to his family's apartment and shows off a rare find, a shiny orange. Son Josh is impressed, as is wife Elizabeth, a doctor of some kind, who notes that the environmental conditions are causing more and more maladies. Suddenly, daughter Maddie bursts into the cramped apartment and warns that they're on their way now. Elizabeth immediately races to hide toddler-age Zoe in a secret cabinet. They've clearly done this before. The cops demand to search the premises. It's implied that Jim is a cop too, but it doesn't matter to the authoritarian goons, who violently toss the place. Finally, the cops hear a faint crying. They remove a grate and find a crying Zoe. Jim goes crazy, punching and kicking the cops. It ends badly. However, how badly? Cut to an industrial prison 2 years later. Elizabeth pays Jim a visit. Through tears, she explains that she has been contacted by the recruitment people for Terra Nova. Jim is overjoyed by the news. You've got to take the kids and go, he says. But Elizabeth explains that she won't be allowed to take Zoe, who is an illegal third child on overpopulated Earth. There has to be another way, Jim says. Whispers Elizabeth, there is. She then convinces the guard to let her give Jim a breathing device. Later, he opens a flap on the breathing device and finds a small hidden tool. The tool emits a laser and cuts through his tin cup. Jim smiles. His wife has given him a chance to escape. Cut to Elizabeth, Josh, and Maddie entering a crowded boarding area bound for Terra Nova. Meanwhile, Jim has apparently already made it out of the maximum security prison and is riding a bus. He performs a little self-surgery to remove a red blinking chip from beneath his skin on his arm. He exits the bus and heads purposely to a street corner where he finds a very large backpack with an ID badge, a gun, and wads of cash. cut to Josh, who takes time to say goodbye to his girlfriend. He promises to find a way to bring her to Terra Nova, but she insists such a development would be impossible. In the meantime, Jim uses his phony ID to get past security. A wristband he found in the bag gives him further instructions to pay off a maintenance man who lets him into the interior of the complex through a back entrance. Unfortunately, Jim's sneaky presence doesn't go unnoticed by security video. Jim then catches up to Elizabeth, Maddie, and Josh, who try to restrain their joy upon seeing him again. Whatever happens, keep moving, Jim tells his family moments before a security guard takes Jim to step out of line. Meanwhile, a large group of citizens continue to walk towards a big, glowing gate that zaps them into another place in time. Elizabeth convinces her son and daughter to step through the gate before walking through herself. The moment Elizabeth has disappeared, Jim hits the guard and runs for it. He plunges through the gate and emerges in a lushly wooded area surrounded by his fellow travelers. Unfortunately, a group of armed guards in camo notice that Jim is carrying a weapon. They draw their own weapons. They demand to search Jim's backpack, which of course contains a hiding Zoe. Elizabeth embraces her daughter as Jim wards off the guards. So what is this Terra Nova? Well, it's seemingly a paradise that has been virtually untouched by man. As the travelers are led through the jungle, Elizabeth wonders if the authorities will make Jim serve out his sentence. Jim's answer gives us our first clue as to where and when we are. I hope not, he says. I'm not scheduled to be released for another 85 million years. Suddenly, a huge roar echoes through the foliage. The Shannon family, along with the rest of the new arrivals, soon arrive at an enormous and circular-shaped city. All of the buildings constructed from lumber, but defended with very modern weapons. Just then, Nathaniel Taylor, the colony leader, emerges from his compound to greet the new citizens. Congratulations! Each one of you has taken a new step, just as I did 7 years ago, toward a new beginning. He says Taylor explains how humanity blew it by destroying its home. Now, a second chance to get it right in Terra Nova. Everyone claps. Later, Jim and Elizabeth are brought before Taylor, who relaxes behind a table made from a huge dinosaur skull. He explains that he doesn't care about laws from another time. He just wants people who will be of use. Elizabeth is a doctor, but how will Jim be of use? There must be some bad guys around here that need catching, says Jim, who explains that he used to be a narcotics officer in Chicago. Taylor gruffly assigns Jim to agricultural duty. The family then explores its new house, which is big and open and practically glowing. Jim worries that Zoe doesn't even know him, but the dad is soon making his youngest daughter giggle. It's a touching moment, capped by Zoe calling Jim Daddy. Josh doesn't buy into the good feelings, however. I guess we're supposed to forget about the years we had to fend for ourselves because Dad was in jail, says the petulant teenager. If he hadn't lost his cool and punched that cop, he might have gotten off with a fine. Ever think about that? Mom and Dad tell Josh to cool down, so he sulks. Zoe, meanwhile, has wandered outside and is staring with wonder at a brachiosaur who eats leaves from her hand. The camera pulls back to reveal a herd of long-necked big guys. The next morning, Dad heads to work, Mom heads to work, and the kids head to new citizen orientation. Maddie then marvels at a shrine of sorts to the original probe, which identifies the existence of Terra Nova. She then explains to her slacker brother that Terra Nova exists in a distant past of an alternate universe, so nothing they do, like step on a butterfly, will result in their never having been born. Convenient. Josh then decides to skip orientation and soon runs into a perky young blonde named Sky. Perhaps he can forget his old girlfriend after all. Sky then takes Josh to a hole in a massive fence. They slip out into the woods and find fellow teenage risk seekers Tasha, Hunter, and Max. The new gang heads out for an adventure, which involves leaping off a waterfall into the water below. Josh takes the plunge and swims with his new friend. Sky then shows Josh a series of strange gold symbols that have seemingly been carved into the rock. I think they're equations, but I can't be sure, Sky says. The place, meanwhile, is off limits. It's like Taylor doesn't want anybody to know about this. Don't tell anyone about this, okay? Josh agrees. Sometime later, Elizabeth is working on a patient who has been shot, stealing from the power grid. Why? Because they're Sixers. A security guard explains. Before he can explain the term, the patient leaps up and holds a knife to Elizabeth's throat. He demands the guard slide over his gun. The guard complies and the Sixers take the weapon and flees. Outside, Jim is getting agricultural lessons when he notices the Sixer walking fast through the camp. Jim's cop senses apparently begin to tingle as he opts to follow the fellow. Good thing too, because Jim notices when the Sixer pulls a weapon and aims it at Taylor. Just as Taylor is about to be assassinated, Jim tackles the Sixer, who is led off to the brig in handcuffs. Taylor invites Jim for a hike. The pair of macho men climb up a waterfall as Taylor explains the Sixers are a split-off settlement that all arrived with a 6 batch of Terra Nova immigrants. One day, the group decided to make their own society, taking a considerable amount of supplies and weapons with them. No one knows exactly why. Until we know who sent those people back and why, I don't know who in the future I can trust, Taylor explains. Then they climb a rock and take in the view of Terra Nova from high above. This is what we're fighting for, Jim, says Taylor, before inviting the ex-cop to join his security forces. Just then, Taylor notices Sixers' jeeps approaching Terra Nova. Trouble. Cut to Taylor and Jim chasing the armed jeeps in their own all-terrain vehicle. A furious chase ensues, and is soon joined by a toothy dinosaur, Carnotaurus. Taylor deadpans. I hate Carnotaurus. The beast snaps a few Sixers out of their vehicles and then continues to chase Taylor and Jim. Take the wheel, shouts Taylor, who jumps out of the vehicle to face down the Carno. Mano e Dino. This gives the security guard at the gates of Terra Nova just enough time to ready their weapons. Taylor then leaps back into the vehicle and tells Jim to step on it. They speed through the closing gates of Terra Nova as weapons above fire at the Carno, who thinks better of it and flees. After the smoke is cleared, Taylor confronts the Sixers, who have approached the gates. A particularly tough woman named Mira demands the return of her Sixer friend from the Terra Nova brig. She also implies that the Sixers have spies inside the complex before proposing a trade. The prisoner and medical supplies for a big box of meteoric iron. Taylor accepts, apparently. The Sixers control the quarry. Later, Taylor and Elizabeth have a heart-to-heart at the medical tent. The good doctor explains she wanted a better life for her children. Taylor understands. He wants the same thing for his own son. Alas, Taylor's son went missing some years ago. Dad still hopes the boy will return. Meanwhile, Tasha, Hunter, Max, and Sky introduce Josh to a makeshift moonshine still outside the gates. Everybody but Sky and Josh go off into the woods to search for supplies. The lovebirds chat, i.e. Josh complains about his family. When they hear an animal shriek in the distance, not good. Back at Terra Nova, Taylor calls Jim into the surveillance room and shows him security footage of Josh and Sky sneaking out of the fence. If we don't get them pretty quick, something else might. Taylor tells the worried father. Cut to the teens who discover that the rover they stole is missing its power cell. The Sixers stole it before disappearing. Actually, they were killed by a slasher, though the teens don't know it. Luckily, the Sixers' vehicle is nearby. They race toward the seemingly abandoned vehicle as they hear another shriek. The slasher dinosaur is getting closer. Sky opens the door to find a Sixer inside. She apparently remembers him from his own time in Terra Nova and convinces the man to let the teens inside. They slam the door to the vehicle just as the slasher leaps from the underbrush with a loud shriek, slamming into the side of the armored car. Night falls. Elizabeth insists on heading out with Jim. Taylor and the security team search for the teens. Taylor attempts to confront the terrified parents by telling them that he was the first to arrive at Terra Nova and spent more than 100 days defending himself against the dinosaurs and elements before more men arrived. The lesson? This jungle can be survived, Taylor concludes. Meanwhile, slashers surround the rover. The teens use their weapons to open fire. It's a flurry of sputtering gunfire, flashing muzzles, and dino shrieks. Back at Terra Nova, cute boy Reynolds visits Maddie, assuring her that everything is going to be okay. Maddie is clearly smitten. Cut to Jim and Elizabeth, who find a badly wounded Tasha lying on the jungle floor. Terrified, she ran from the Sixer vehicle and was attacked by a slasher. As Elizabeth stabilizes Tasha, she explains that she crossed water after escaping the vehicle. That narrows the search area for the teens. Jim, meanwhile, blames himself for the whole episode. Josh came out here with the kids just to spite me, he tells Elizabeth. Jim then disappears into the jungle with Taylor to find the kids. Cut to the Sixers vehicle, where Skye explains that her father was a corporal in Taylor's guard before he died. Josh barely has time to sympathize before more slashers attack the vehicle. Hunter is dragged outside by a slasher, which casually munches on the boy's leg before Josh and Skye use machine guns to scare it away. All the teens then decide to take their stolen power cell and try to make it back to their rover, in a desperate plan that soon goes awry. Just as it looks as if the dinos are about to maul the surrounded teens, Taylor and his men arrive. Jim shoots the slasher about to kill Josh, and then tries to confront his son. It's okay, Jim tells Josh. It's me. It's over. Jim and Taylor then head to the Sixer vehicle and find the man gone. It's Mira, Taylor says. She came for her man. Back at Terra Nova, Elizabeth greets Jim with a smile. The parents are soon joined by their wayward son, who apologizes for causing so much trouble. A big family hug ensues. Skye watches the embrace longingly before approaching Taylor. I'm sorry. You've been so good to me since my folks, Skye says before trailing off. Taylor accepts the apology and asks if the teens went anywhere near the falls. Skye lies and says no. Good, Taylor says. Good. What is this Taylor hiding? Cut to Mira and her man, who are examining the strange calculations. Mira explains that they are made by Taylor's son. Every time he gets closer to an answer, he puts it here, the Sixer leader says, to remind him of the real reason for Terra Nova's existence. Control the past, control the future. She stares at the symbols. They're the key to everything.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
That recap was by Nick Chor. Spoilers. Yeah, spoiler alert. Woo!
Do it again.
We made it through that.
Thoughts and opinions.
Now it's time where we talk about the show. Now it's fresh in our minds. Break the episode down, basically. Okay, did you want to lead this?
Sure.
Tell me your thoughts on some of the things, and we'll go point by point, and then we'll take turns. All right, sound good, Jordan?
Yeah.
All right, so you start, Heather.
What I thought was cool was the ID badges, the badges that they wore, that they held up in front of their face, and it had their picture and everything. And after you saw Josh sitting in his bed at Terra Nova, when his dad looks in, you see that he's looking at a picture of, I'm assuming, him and Kara, his girlfriend. I want to know, what do you think it holds? Like, what do you think it has on it? Do you think it has, like, just photos, or do you think it's kind of like an, iPhone kind of thing with different apps, or what do you think?
That was my thought. When I saw it, I was thinking iPhone, like the Plex Pad was the iPad, and the little ID badge-looking things were just the iPhones that everybody carries around with them, and pretty much can do everything. Because if an iPhone nowadays can do everything, why can't that little clear piece of plastic do everything?
Yeah, what do you think they're up to? iPhone 37, or what do you think?
Well, they don't have phones, so it's not like an iPhone, but I mean, do you think that it has, like, the functionality kind of things? Do you think it has, that it can do everything? I mean, I know that they said in something that I read that they didn't have phones, but because they just use the walkie-talkies, so there's no real reason for the phone, but I saw the picture on it. I wonder if they'll continue to use those, or if that's just kind of in the first episode.
Oh, so it's an iTouch, because they don't have Wi-Fi in the past, do they?
No Wi-Fi.
No cell towers either.
Well, that's it. I'm not going back.
My next thing, I don't know if anybody else caught this, but I don't know if it's a continuity error, or just kind of that they filmed it one way and they, aired it in a different order, but when they're told to remove their rebreathers when they're at Hope Plaza, you see Josh take his off and put it in the bin, and then they go to Jim and they show Jim Shannon, and then they come back and all three of them are walking and they all have their rebreathers around their neck. So I thought that it was kind of weird. I don't know if it was just like a continuity error or if it was...
Nice. I think you got a blooper there. Nice.
Real life continuity error, what it might have happened in there. Maybe time waves from the wormhole are going out, and we're seeing different time periods, like rippling back and forth through time. But probably continuity
Or maybe it was just edited wrong. One of the two.
Yeah, but it was weird. I didn't notice it the first time, but the second time I watched it, I was like, wait a second, they just took those off and put them in the bin, because over the, like, loudspeaker or whatever, it says, please remove your rebreathers and place them in the designated bins. You will not need that for Terra Nova, or whatever it says. And they show Maddie and Josh taking it off, putting it in the bin, and then they go to something else, and then they come back and the rebreathers are on their neck. It's just kind of something cool to look back on if you rewatch the show.
I did not catch it at all. The continuity error I did notice was Sky. When she took her shirt off and was wearing a bikini, she still had her shorts on, and she was about to jump into the falls, and then all of a sudden her shorts were off and she was just wearing a bikini.
Well, I figured they didn't show her shorts, so she probably just shimmied them off, because I noticed that too, but I was like, she might have just...
All right, maybe not a continuity error. Maybe we just didn't see the shimmy. See the shimmy.
See the shimmy.
I don't know if I saw the shimmy or not.
But what I did notice about that was that after the jump, she had her clothes when they were out of the water. Right. So I don't know, did she jump in with them? I mean, I don't know the point of taking them off and leaving them on the cliff if you're gonna... I mean,
because that's not really a shortcut if you got to go back and get your clothes.
No.
So, okay. Something we'll have to figure out. I didn't mind that she took her clothes off.
I didn't think you did.
Hey, it went with the plot.
Yeah, okay.
It was integral to the plot, yes.
Okay.
I agree with Jordan.
Sure. I also think that they did really good on the whole Jim and Elizabeth kind of awkward moment that they had as they were saying goodnight as he went to go sleep on the couch. Because, I mean, if you think about it, they've been apart for 2 years, and they have kids. It's not like, you know, that they obviously love each other and everything, but, you know, it's hard to just jump right back into the way your relationship was before you were away and all that stuff. So it'll be nice to see that their relationship, and also Jim's relationship with the kids, especially Zoe, since she doesn't really know him very well. It'll be nice to see him integrate himself back into the family.
Yeah, I agree. I like the family connections, a little subtletiness between, you know, him and his wife, how it is awkward. So much time apart, they can't just... I like they didn't just throw him back to being lovey-dovey. There's still that subtletiness of awkwardness, and kind of the relationship with all the kids is something that will grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very realistic.
Yeah, it felt very realistic to me, too, because even though you're married and been intimate with each other how many times, you still, after all that time, it's like starting over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still a lot of love and respect, but yeah, it's hard to just jump back into things.
Another thing on that note, I noticed the bedroom doors are just curtains, see-through curtains.
Yeah, that's creepy.
But you know what? In their quarters, in the beginning, when they were still in 2149, somebody pulled open a curtain there too. So I don't know if maybe that's just how they're used to, like room dividers, because if you saw, their quarters were crazy small in 2149. I mean, they basically had one room and bunk beds. So maybe they just got used to the whole curtain thing, and that was just easier than building walls, and doing that is just easier to put up a curtain, because that's how it was in their tiny little apartment in 2149.
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, it's all according to what you're used to.
Yeah.
And with overpopulation being what it is, they can't really probably afford all the drywall in houses today, and you're lucky to get a curtain maybe for privacy.
Another thing that I wasn't sure about is that milk that they're drinking in the glasses. They said that they have to drink that for 3 days, or Maddie said you have to drink that for 3 days because your body isn't used to the enzymes or your body doesn't produce the right enzymes to digest the food on Terra Nova. But is that like a protein shake? I mean, it looked like milk, and especially with the milk mustache that Maddie had. I don't know what they're drinking.
To me, at first I thought it was some kind of green liquid. Then on my second viewing of the episode, I noticed the glasses were green, so it could have just been milk. My thought was that it was some kind of Ensure, where it's like a liquid food, but it also had like enzymes added that they needed for their body to digest things.
Yeah, some sort of hybrid.
I definitely have to say, liked the shirtless Jason O'Mara scene. The bug was kind of creepy. But I was totally digging Jason O'Mara without a shirt on. That was kind of awesome. So.
Al, do you agree?
I didn't notice. No, I noticed. Well, see, that's what I look like with my shirt off, so that's why I try to keep it on, so I don't distract the ladies.
There you go. Well, you know, it shows that there was something for everyone. You know, we're talking about the girl and her shimmying her, you know, bikini, and shirtless Jason O'Mara, something for everyone.
I'm sure there's a lot of people going to tune in next week because of Jason O'Mara shirtless this week, definitely.
They were like, no matter what, Jason, you got to take your shirt off in the pilot episode.
Probably once an episode.
Let's hope so. Okay, what do you guys think about the drawings on the rocks? The equations or the drawings by Taylor's son? What do you think about that?
I like that. That shows that they do got different things boiling here. You got a lot of stuff to look forward to in the upcoming episodes. I don't know. I don't know if I got lost in the science. I mean, could it be other people trying to travel there, or mistaken trips? Like, well, I don't know. What do you think, Hal? I'm kind of lost in it.
I really enjoyed that part because until that point, I didn't see any, intrigue, anything I was intrigued in, anything that I was like, ooh, this is going to bring me back. I'm hooked. I want to know more about this. This is like an overall mystery. They didn't say until the end of the show that it was Taylor's son, and that was only what the leader of the Sixers said. So that might not even be true. My personal thought was it's from different people that might have been there that didn't come through the wormhole. And I'll talk about that later on when I talk about the probe.
So if you don't think it's Taylor's son, what do you think happened to Taylor's son? Because that was another point that I had. Do you think he rebelled and got out and said, I don't want to be in Terra Nova? And he's not a Sixer, or we don't think he's a Sixer, considering the Sixers were talking about him, but that he is somewhere on his own in the forest? Or do you think he's gone?
I don't think he's like the French woman on Lost, just living by himself in the forest all crazy. I think he is actually the leader of the Sixers.
I thought Mira was the leader of the Sixers.
Yeah, but there's always somebody higher up somewhere else calling the shots, and that would be, just for writing, drama reasons would be perfect, like the father and son have two separate factions. So, could be wrong, probably am, but that's my thought.
Because like you said, it could very well be, he's part of the Sixers, maybe it could be a whole other group itself. Maybe he found a way to get out of it, and maybe he's traveling through other portals, and because if they're from another, dimension or whatever, then other people might have figured out in another dimension, and there's always a lot of different ways to look at it.
Yeah, it pretty much could go anywhere. I have multiple theories about these writings. Another thing is, if it is his son, does he know something? Because it's Nathaniel Taylor's son, he might have some information that he overheard, or just has some inside information, or a feeling. Because he was on the second pilgrimage, Taylor's son, and what if he found out that they're not really 85 million years in the past? The only evidence we have that it's in the past is that the moon is closer to the Earth than, present day or 2149.
Well, that and the dinosaurs.
Well, if it's an alternate timeline, the dinosaurs might not have become extinct due to the meteor in the past, because it's an alternate timeline.
Oh, sorry, you just schooled me.
Or another thought I had was that they're not even in the past. They're just in a big computer simulation. There could be anything, but
you like that theory.
I love that theory. I apply it to every TV show I watch. Even Laverne and Shirley, I thought they were in a computer simulation. That's before computers, but Shmuel Shemivel, that sounds like binary to me if you were to read it.
That was the alternate ending no one ever saw.
That'll be on the DVD.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of ways that could go, so I'm intrigued. I want to know more, and I can't wait to be proven wrong.
Okay, I have a few more points that I want to ask about. What are the guns on those watchtowers shooting? The huge guns. They were like big blasts of energy or something.
I think they call them sonics. He called them the sonics. So I think it's just a sonic wave, like a bass wave that, sometimes you feel like people driving by with low bass and it shakes your whole body. Maybe they found a way to just go boom all at once and knock the thing over without killing it.
That would be good.
I was going to say, maybe it's just really shitty rap music and dinosaurs don't like rap music.
And they're like, no more rap music.
No, not Pitbull.
That would be a good thing if they were like a sound thing, because then they wouldn't need ammo, right? I mean, they wouldn't need more supplies from 2149.
Yep, they'd probably work on electric.
Okay, do you think they're going to go anywhere with Maddie's crush? The guy who, she's been kind of acting silly in front of? Maddie has a crush on that guy, and she twice in the show kind of showed her feelings a little bit, rambled on about the incisors of the dinosaur, and I don't know if they're going to go they're going to continue with that story, because she is kind of young, but that's the whole point, is to get them to grow up faster and repopulate. So I don't know if they're going to continue on that story, or she just kind of have a crush on him, or...
Yeah, there's a couple ways you can go about it. I mean, obviously, you gotta have some romance. They're also teasing it with the son and, the other girl. And, yeah, I don't know if they're gonna go, like you said, she's young, so it may just kind of continue with the crush thing, and maybe he'll let her down politely, or who knows, or they could very well just go and have them get together some point, like at the end of the season, and have that be a problem for next season. So it depends on where the writers' heads are at, and it's interesting to see where it's going to go.
Because Jim Shannon definitely seems like he's a protective father, so I don't know how he's going to feel about his daughter dating.
It could definitely be for lighter moments for later seasons. Wouldn't be the main probably story arc, but it could be for some fun with Jim and lighter moments and later on in the season or next season.
Yeah, I see a season 2 wedding during Sweeps Week with Maddie Shannon and this guy.
That's pretty quick for the wedding.
They have to grow up quick and procreate and get the humans to take over and ruin the Earth one more time. Any more points, Heather? Any more points of interest?
Does anybody have any predictions on who sent the Sixers? Taylor gave a couple options when he was talking to Jim Shannon when they were climbing the rocks and stuff. Do you think they're just their own rebellion, or do you think somebody sent them? Do you think that somebody sent the Sixers, or do you think that they just decided to rebel on their own?
I have 2 thoughts on this. One is the religious group that's trying to blow up Hope Plaza might have something to do with them. But my other thought was they're the 6th pilgrimage. They all came through together, and those are the Sixers. I'm sure there's some other people with the Sixers that didn't all come there, but I think we're going to find out later on that Taylor did something that they know about. So it's going to be one of those things where initially we think the Sixers are wrong, but then we're going to find out that the Sixers are doing the right thing for some reason, that they know something that everybody else doesn't know, something that Taylor doesn't want everybody to know, because they're not going to just break away and have a different agenda for some reason. And I don't think that somebody could rig the lottery process enough to have the whole group of Sixers, which is about 100 people every pilgrimage, I think, have the whole group have an agenda before they go there. I think something happened, and we might see a flashback episode to what happened to cause the Sixers to succeed from Terra Nova.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling at the end of the episode when they were talking about the drawings, that they know something that everybody else doesn't know about the leader of Terra Nova.
Yeah, quickly school me on something, though. What was the stuff that they were trading the Sixers for?
Meteoric iron, which I'm thinking is iron from a meteor.
Right, what would that come in handy for?
Building, ammo? Guns? Building...
It wouldn't be ammo because they asked for ammo.
Oh. Well, maybe they give them the ore and then they take back the ammo.
They didn't go over it.
That's what I mean. That might also, to me, play into it because... obviously they want that enough to where they gave, a prisoner away. So yeah, like kind of said, there's something about it. Like, that pilgrimage came over and they learned something where they had to break apart from it, and there's some, I don't know, man. That's what I'm trying to piece together. I'm having fun myself trying to piece it together with you guys, and I don't know.
For me, that's most of the fun, is trying to figure this stuff out. It's like a mystery. It's like Murder, She Wrote times 10 or 1,000.
And my last point is the isobiotics. Are isobiotics kind of like antibiotics? Are they the opposite of antibiotics?
My answer to that is Google Entity. Biotics, ISO.
ISO is not an abbreviation. It is a word derived from the Greek isos, meaning equal, which is the root for the prefix iso that occurs in a host of terms such as isometric, of equal measure or dimensions, and isonomy, equality of laws or of people before the law. So basically it means equal. So if we look for biotics, I know what antibiotics is, but I don't exactly know what... Ooh, I won 9 swag bucks. I don't exactly know what biotics means, so... Biotics literally means pertaining to life. So antibiotics means against life, so it kills the life forms that it's trying to kill. Probiotics is for life. Symbiotics is together with or for life. So isobiotics is equal to life, so maybe it just keeps you healthy?
All right, I'll go with that. You answered your own question, because I could not.
Google answered my question.
Thank you, Google.
Yes.
That is it for my notes.
Okay, we'll go to my notes. In an earlier show, we talked about what are the punishments for having an extra child, a third child. And this episode we found out that it's normally a fine. That Jim Shannon wasn't in jail for having the third child. He was in jail for assaulting the population control officer.
Well, possibly. Didn't they say it could have been a fine?
Yeah, so it might have been one of those things where there's no definite punishment, that it could be as easy as a fine or as harsh as incarceration.
But it probably wouldn't have been 2 years. Yeah, it probably would have been a lot shorter than 2 years.
Yeah, maybe 6 months or something.
Yeah.
But that explains why he went to jail and not Elizabeth Shannon.
Well, every kid needs a parent.
It was cool that she smuggled in the laser to him in jail.
Yeah, but doesn't it make you think that they have really crappy security?
Yeah.
But she paid somebody to bring her back there. She paid, and she's a doctor. So that could have gotten her past some of the screenings, but the guy had her there sneakily, because he was like, somebody's coming.
Right, she might have got herself in there for some other way and paid off a guard to sneak him to that section.
Oh, okay. Well, because I was under the impression where, like, he's like, you paid for 5 minutes, that, like, that's the only way you can see your family, is to pay. Like, I thought that might have been legal, actually, like, as if, because it looked like they hadn't seen each other for the full 2 years. So I thought maybe she legally paid.
Yeah, that was my first impression, too, that's the standard procedure. You pay to visit somebody in jail.
Yeah.
You know, another way to collect money for the government.
Until he said, there's somebody coming, your time is up. Because they didn't even get 5 minutes, but somebody was coming, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
That's when I knew she was sneaking in there. So, and it might have been a medical device that she was able to get in with her medical kit earlier and then smuggle it to him. Or it was just in her rebreather. I wanted to talk about the probe, or the beacon. The probe with the beacon in it that Maddie and Josh and Zoe were found and were talking about. This was a scene they added on fairly recently to explain the different timelines in the parallel universe and why the things they do at Terra Nova don't affect the future, supposedly. And the way Maddie explained it was they sent it back and they didn't know where or when it went, but it had a beacon in it so they could find it however many millions of years later. I'll play a clip right now.
No way. I can't believe it!
Can't believe what? What is it?
You've got to be joking.
It's the probe. You know, the one they sent through when they first discovered the time fracture. How can you not know that?
I was having a life, Maddie.
No one knew at first how far back the fracture went or even where it led to. They sent this back with a beacon inside so that, they could find it however many millions of years later. Only they never did.
Huh?
That's how they knew that they were dealing with a new time stream.
Whatever, Maddie.
Whatever? Okay, Josh, you do realize that if we were in the same time stream, then something like, I don't know, just stepping on a butterfly could change everything. Like, for example, us never being born.
Oh, okay, I get it more now.
Yeah, so in that clip, she says they sent the beacon back because they didn't know where or when the wormhole went. And so the beacon sends out a signal so they can find it however many millions of years later. But they never found it. So they knew that they were dealing with a parallel timeline. My thought was, how can not finding something prove that they're dealing with a parallel timeline? Who's to say that sometime in the series in the future they destroy the probe, destroy the beacon, so there's no way to find it, or something happens to it. But it might be something at the end of the series where we go, oh, it is the same timeline.
What if they're on a spaceship on their way to Mars and they're just in a simulation? I mean, what if they're what if they're on a different planet altogether? That's like in a different universe.
Yeah.
It could just be Earth-like.
How does not finding a probe prove anything? It doesn't. A negative can't prove something.
Yeah.
So It could be in the future. It could be the same exact time, just in a parallel universe. If it's in a parallel universe, why does it have to be 85 million years ago? Just because dinosaurs from the Cretaceous period in our timeline were 85
Yeah, dinosaurs
million years
don't
ago?
ask questions. Humans would ask questions.
What?
Well, they went to dinosaur world because dinosaurs don't ask questions. If a bunch of people from the future were like appearing in front of us, wouldn't we be like, hey, quit that?
So it could be many, many things, and that might be the thing that Taylor's son figured out or is close to figuring out of what it really is. We might not being told what the truth is.
I have a friend who's on Facebook, and she's totally obsessed, but she said that there was a preview for next week. Did you watch that? Because I didn't.
No, but we'll play it at the end of the show.
Okay, because she said, did you see the preview for Instinct next week? I'm anxious to see the role Commander Taylor's son plays. So maybe he's in it, so it might be something to watch.
So we'll find out next week more about Taylor's son.
Yeah.
The only preview I saw was for next week, but then it said this season on Terra Nova, so it could have been from any episode of the 13th.
Oh, I don't know, because she said, I just told her about the app, and I'm trying to get her involved, and she said, did you see the preview for Instinct next week? So she specifically said Instinct, so I'm assuming that's what the title of the episode is.
It is.
So I don't know if there is a preview out there, but there might be one that we might want to watch.
But besides the writing on the rocks that was written in gold, the probe is what's most interesting to me right now. But from what I understand behind the scenes is they just added that at the last minute just to shut people up about asking about different timelines. So it might not have been thought through as much as this and just put in there just to get our minds off of the butterfly effect and what's happening.
I think you're underestimating them.
That's true. They are very excellent
They're
writing producers, everybody.
trying to make you think that they don't want you to think about that.
Ah, so we kind of just watch it and assume they were just having some throwaway lines for us, but it really means something in the future.
Exactly. Or they might think that we thought about them thinking that.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't end like Lost, I'll be okay.
You better not. I think everybody learned from Lost not to end it like that. But that's my main interest is where are they actually? Because I'm not going to just assume that they're where they say they are. They could be, but I'm not going to assume that. Yeah, I'm going to hold out for my wacky conspiracy theory because it just makes it more interesting for me. Does anybody else have any thoughts on any of these points we're making? You can send us a voicemail, post in our forums, or
send us an email.
Leave us a voicemail. You can do so by calling 707-847-NOVA or 707-847-6682. That'll be repeated at the end of the show, so you don't have to find a pen right now. Okay, more stuff. Just to do with the music and the sound, I spent a lot of time today listening to the music of Terra Nova, and I have to say it was really good. A lot of the parts where Josh and Sky were together, the music sounded a lot like Firefly music. The same instruments, the same tone of it. I thought I was actually listening to some Firefly music. Overall, great music. Did anybody else think that the howlers sounded like a horse whinny? That's what it sounded like to me. I don't know what they actually used.
I didn't even think about that.
No, but to me it sounded like a horse whinny.
Yeah, totally, a horse.
When Jim Shannon and Taylor were walking, where they were looking at the colony, Jim Shannon was saying to Taylor, what does Hope Plaza have to say about all this situation with the Sixers or whatever? So Jim Shannon definitely thinks there's two-way communication between Taylor and Hope Plaza, so some way to communicate from the past to the future. With a one-way wormhole, I don't understand how that's possible, and I hope they explain it in the future. Jordan, do you think there's actually communication going on between the past and the future, or do you think that's just something that people are told to keep them feeling safe?
Well, how do they know Terra Nova even worked if the past can't contact the future?
Yeah, I don't know.
They can contact somehow because Commander Taylor said Hope Plaza said they're going to send 100 more people in the next pilgrimage.
Hope Plaza will be able to contact Taylor because they can send messages with people through the wormhole. So Taylor might be able to get messages from the future, but what I'm asking is, can the future get messages from Taylor? And if so, how?
I don't know.
I don't know, because I'm still confused as to how they know that they're not sending people to a death place.
Right? It might be a wormhole covered with an iris on Stargate SG-1, and everybody that goes through the wormhole, their atoms just get smashed into oblivion when they appear on the other side of the wormhole.
That's why they sent the probe.
But they never found the probe.
But then that's why they sent Commander Taylor by himself.
Then how did Taylor tell them everything was cool?
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't, because it said in the blink of an eye more people came, but he was there for 100 and whatever days.
118, I think.
Yeah, so he was there 118 days, and it was only a blink of an eye to them. So they were just sending people back. But you're right, I don't know. Maybe there is a way that they can communicate.
Or did they find the probe and they just didn't tell anybody? Because something happened, maybe it's got a recorder in it, like a black box of sorts, and they know that it didn't quite work out right, but they don't want to tell people that, because it's people's only and last hope.
But if they found the probe, it would be the butterfly effect. Like Maddie was talking about, she would never be born and all that stuff.
Well, if it was in the same timeline, there's another school of thought when it has to do with time travel. Everything that's going to happen already happened. So there's nothing that you can do in the past to affect your timeline, because whatever happened already happened.
You just blew my mind.
That's when you're dealing with a time travel show, there's so many different things you can look at and analyze and figure what if then. They said it's not about the time travel, it's about the family relationship, but I think that's mostly just to get more people to watch it, because a lot of people think if they're going to sit down and watch a sci-fi show, somebody's going to have rubber ears on and they're not going to understand what they're talking about because of all the technobabble. They're just saying that to get the people that aren't sci-fi fanatics like myself into the show, because they already know we're going to watch. So they don't need to get us to watch, they need to get more quote-unquote normal people to watch.
I like the family part of it because, I mean, sci-fi shows usually have a backstory of some sort of family or camaraderie or something in the backstory, like Star Trek. You know, they have all their friendships and stuff. But here, the family is a lot stronger than the sci-fi element.
I have a couple more things. Mira and Taylor, they kind of were looking at each other and kind of winked and nodded. It seemed like they have some sort of mutual respect going on, either that or some uneasy alliance.
They did kind of allude to that a bit, so there's something to look for later on. And if they're not alliancing, there's some sort of connection there they're not letting on to at the moment.
I think that they were close, probably friends or something, and he had no idea, and he got betrayed, so he's probably hurt, but they were either friends or closer than friends. But she probably betrayed him. Like, he probably had no idea, and he feels stupid and betrayed because he trusted her. But you can tell that they have a connection.
That gave me goosebumps when you said that. I hadn't thought of that. Never entered my mind. But when you said it, I was like, oh, that's so cool. That's probably what it is.
I don't know if I'm right, but that's what it felt like to me.
It'd be cool if the leader of the two different factions hooked up every once in a while.
I'm sure they don't anymore.
Okay, Jordan, time for your thoughts on the episode, different points we can talk about.
No, like I said at the top of the show, it hooked me. It hooked me right away. I dug the intro of seeing the future. I liked the way it was shot. I liked the acting. I really dig Jason O'Mara, the whole family. I kind of believe the family. I think that's important, and I believe that family. You know what I mean? They did kind of seem a good connection at the beginning, and the son, you know, being disdained later on. I liked once they got to the past, Stephen Lang kicking ass again. It's cool to see that. Almost similar to what he did in Avatar. Like that they're setting up multiple things, kind of what a show needs to do at the beginning. Keeping you knowing that you got a lot of stuff to look forward to. A lot of stuff we talked about where I just kind of went, I don't know, man. and I like that. I like watching a show and going, like I said before, after 2 hours, I was like, man, I wish, like you said, wish this was DVD. I wish I could get to the next episode and see where it's going, because I was ready. I was ready to continue and look forward to continuing in the weeks to come.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm counting down the days till Monday. This is one of the few shows that I watch episode by episode. I'm more of the type of person to wait till the season comes out on Blu-ray or DVD and just sit and have a little marathon. That's my favorite way. But this show's so good, I can't wait till the season's over and the Blu-rays come out. I'm sure I'll buy it when it comes out and watch it all over again, but
I really liked it. I never used to watch shows all at once. I never used to catch up, but since I got my DVR and started watching stuff on DVD and shows like that, I love watching shows one after another. It's so sad when it ends though. and you either have to, you're caught up or the series is done. So I feel what you're saying is, you wanted more last night. I can't wait to see where all these questions that we all had end up. I don't know if they're going to cover all of it in the next season or if we'll have to wait longer for some of the storylines, but I'm very interested in seeing where the plot is going to go and how the family is going to end up back together as a whole family and how the whole community is going to interact. I'm sure we'll meet new characters every week as far as more people in the community because there's so many people there. I'm sure they're going to introduce, adult friends and teenage friends and friends for Zoe. And there's going to be a huge character base, I'm sure, and as well as, mainly focusing on the main characters. But there's so many things that they can do with this story. It's going to be amazing no matter what they do.
This is the 10th pilgrimage, and the pilgrimages are about 100 people right now each, so that's about 1,000 people. I don't think Taylor and his men, the first people through, count as a pilgrimage. I think they were just like the first settlers, explorers, so probably a little bit over 1,000 people, and then there's more coming through all the time. They have a cast of 1,000 people, possibly, so they're losing more all the time, getting more all the time. Let's go to TC with the science.
Science.
The following dinosaur was seen in Terra Nova in Episode 2. A baby Ankylosaurus hatches in an incubator after its egg was abandoned. Ankylosaurus means fused lizard in Latin and named by Barnum Brown in 1908. It weighed about 3 to 4 tons, and its length ranged from 25 to 35 feet. And since its height reached only about 4 feet tall, at the hips, it had to eat a huge amount of low-lying vegetation, which would make it an herbivore. And also because he needed an enormous amount of food, his stomach was very large and contained fermentation chambers where the tough plant fibers were dissolved. Even if this were a harmless herbivore, I'd still stay far from it because the fermentation process would produce a very large amount of gas. The Ankylosaurus was a tank-like dinosaur. Its entire top side was heavily protected from carnivores with thick plates fused in its leathery skin. There were 2 rows of spikes along its body and large horns that projected from the back of the head. This fella could pretty much hold its own if attacked because of its strong club-like tail. It even had bony plates as protection for its eyes. The only way the Ankylosaurus would be vulnerable was if his underbelly were somehow exposed. So, short of being flipped over, it was well protected from large predators and could even defend itself very well with his club-like tail. Nimicolopterus. This little guy is the menace to the colonists in the next episode, Instinct. This tiny pterosaur was discovered in China in early 2008. Nimicolopterus is one of the smallest pterosaurs yet found. Comparable in size to a modern pigeon or sparrow, its wingspan was about 10 inches and had curved claws to help grasp tree branches. Nemo lived about 120 years ago during the early Cretaceous period. As early as it was, though, it's possible that Nimicolopterus occupied an early spot in the evolutionary line that produced monstrous late Cretaceous pterosaurs like Pteranodon and Quetzalcoatlus. Although its diet consisted of insects, the humans on Terra Nova probably either annoyed them or the Nemos were fooling around and just using them as toys. I don't know, so you'll have to use your imagination on that one. A picture of the Nimicolopterus may be found under the science section on the Terra Nova podcast. Ranging from the size of a sparrow to the size of an airplane, the pterosaurs, which in Greek stands for winged lizards, ruled the skies in the Jurassic and Cretaceous and included the largest vertebrate ever known to fly. The appearance of flight in pterosaurs was separate from the evolution of flight in birds and bats. Pterosaurs are not closely related to either birds or bats, and thus provide a classic example of convergent evolution, meaning that there is a tendency of different species to develop similar characteristics in response to a set of environmental conditions. Pterosaur is a name that describes a group of different types of pterosaurs, just like the word dinosaur is a name that describes a group of different dinosaurs. So remember what I said earlier? Pterosaurs are not related to birds, bats, and I'm telling you now, they're not related to dinosaurs. They are flying reptiles. In this segment, you'll hear me talk about 2 out of approximately 1,200 specimens of pterosaurs that lived during the Cretaceous period. These 2 are the largest of the flying reptiles. These pterosaurs are Ornithocarius and Quetzalcoatlus. The latter is known to be the giant of the skies. While many Ornithocarius had a small, rounded, bony crest projecting from the back of the skull, this was particularly large and well-developed in Ornithocarius. Ornithocarius had a straight jaw that narrowed toward the tip. Also, unlike related pterosaurs, the teeth of Ornithocarius were mostly vertical rather than set at an outward pointing angle. They also had fewer teeth than related species. Ornithocarius is the term derived from a Greek word, and the meaning of the term is bird hand. This creature was known to have lived in South America and Western Europe during the Middle Cretaceous period. About, I'd say around 95 million years ago. The diet of these creatures would have been fish. Ornithocarius had a thin snout and a large wingspan with bony protuberance on the end. Ornithocarius was the subject of an entire episode of the award-winning BBC television program, Walking with Dinosaurs. In Walking with Dinosaurs, it was claimed that several large bone fragments from the Santana Formation of Brazil indicated that Ornithocarius may have had a wingspan reaching almost 3 feet 3 inches or 12 meters and a weight of approximately 22 pounds or 100 kilograms. Some researchers say that it would have had a wingspan of about 10 feet and would also have a weight around 70 pounds. However, the largest definite Ornithocarius specimens known measure 4 feet 11 inches or 6 meters in wingspan. Having this information, it would make the Ornithocarius one of the largest known pterosaurs. The specimens which the producers of the program used to justify a large size estimate are currently undescribed and are being studied by Dave Martell and Heinz-Peter Bordeaux. Bordeaux stated that he does not believe this highest estimate is likely, and that the producers likely chose the highest possible estimate because it was more, quote-unquote, spectacular. Ornithocarius was not the largest pterosaur which could fly, since Quetzalcoatlus was regarded as the largest flying pterosaur. But you see, Ornithocarius was the biggest flyer of its days, since Quetzalcoatlus appeared only after the period of Ornithocarius. The characteristics that differentiated Ornithocarius from other pterosaurs was its huge wingspan, and it also had a bony keel at the end of its nose. It also had a long, slender skull, and according to researchers, this bony keel would have been a sexually chosen characteristic. At the beginning of the Cretaceous period, long-tailed variety of pterosaurs were replaced by the short-tailed pterosaurs like Ornithocarius. Later, they started to grow larger. It is known to have had a sharp set of teeth with a long jaw useful for catching fish. Ornithocarius had a wingspan like a small aeroplane. The wings of the Ornithocarius were made of skin expanded between the ankle and a stretched-out finger, and it was supported by its legs and the other parts of its body as well. They would have been able to fly around hundreds of kilometers without even flapping their wings. This would be the reason that its fossils were found in different areas of the world. To avoid flapping of wings, Ornithocarius would have spent most of its life in search for warm air rising off the land. with these thermals, they would have been able to soar, circling slowly upwards. At this level, they would also have been able to glide without the use of any energy. Also, they would have been able to fly at low levels over the waves, and by this they would have been able to sustain themselves by catching fish with the help of its long beak. On the website, you'll also notice the stance of the Ornithocharius. It stood on all fours. It was it had 4 legs. Quetzalcoatlus' wings were covered by a leathery membrane and were over 9 inches or 23 centimeters thick at the elbow. This thin but tough membrane stretched between its body, the top of its legs, and its elongated 4th fingers, forming the structure of the wing. Claws protruded from the other fingers. Quetzalcoatlus probably relied on updrafts, which are rising warm air pockets, and breezes to help it fly. Quetzalcoatlus had a large brain and big eyes. It probably had good eyesight. Fur-like fuzz or fibers, which were probably modified scales, may have covered its body. A lightweight, bony crest on the top of his head may have been a sexual characteristic. It used to be thought that the crest acted as a rudder for flying, but this was probably not the case. These guys could fly for an extremely long period of time. It was known to have flown across the Atlantic between Europe and, I believe, the United States. Quetzalcoatlus lived during the late Cretaceous period and died out about 65 million years ago during the KT mass extinction. He was a carnivore, probably skimming the water to find prey. It lived inland from the sea near freshwater ponds, so its diet was not primarily sea fish and marine mollusks like the other pterosaurs. It probably ate arthropods, like early crayfish and dying animals. It probably hunted its prey by gliding toward the water and swooping up its meals. It filtered its food through its long, pointed, toothless jaws. Quetzalcoatlus must have had good eyesight in order to spot these meals from the air. If you click on the science section on the TerraNovaPodcast.com website, you'll find a picture of what an ankylosaurus looks like, as well as the shape of its teeth. There are also coloring pages and a word scramble activity. It is geared towards elementary-aged children, but don't let that stop you. Don't forget to put your name and where you're from on your coloring pages before scanning them to us. This way we'll know who colored those beautiful pictures when we post it on our e-refrigerator. Let's see how creative you can be by making your own background. The word scramble is simple. All you will need to do is answer questions by unscrambling the answers. Answers will be posted, so make sure to check back. The video link provided will explain in greater detail about the ankylosaur, so I highly recommend you view it. How's this for getting lucky? As I was researching ankylosaurs, I came upon this newly discovered species of Ankylosauria. It's the tiniest baby dinosaur discovered by an amateur fossil hunter. The article was written in September of 2011. One Sunday mid-afternoon in January 1997, a husband and wife took a walk in the riverbed near their home in College Park, Maryland. Ray Stanford, an amateur dinosaur hunter, stumbled upon something extraordinary. It took a while for Stanford to realize the find he had on his hands, the impression left by a 5-inch, 13-centimeter baby dinosaur was covered in silt from the riverbed. He found the tiniest example of an armored dinosaur anyone has ever seen. The tiny find is a new species of Ankylosauria, a group of large, armored, plant-eating dinosaurs that spanned from the early Jurassic through the Cretaceous and have made appearances on every continent except Africa. They can reach 20 to 30 feet long. The adults of the species walked on all fours and had bony plates covering their backs and often had spikes down their shoulders or sides. Study researcher David Weishampel of Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine stated that the specimen would look like a very small but leggy armored dinosaur. He said, if you took an armored dinosaur, which we know quite well, such as Panoplosaurus, and scooched it down to a very small size and elongated its limbs, you would have this specimen. The specimen, now named Propanoplosaurus marylandicus, seems to have a larger brain case and a smaller snout than other ankylosaurs. It lived about 110 million years ago during the early Cretaceous in a swampy area that is now Maryland. Apparently, the fossil was formed shortly after the little dinosaur drowned in a flood and ended up belly up in a lake. When the body finally sank, it landed on its back in the sediment on the lake bottom. Its body left an impression of the top of its skull, its rib cage, and part of its forelimbs and hind limbs. Individualized bones can be discerned, but unlike a traditional fossil, there were no mineralized or petrified remains. The impression is also the youngest armored dinosaur ever found. No other specimen has been found this early in life. Weishempel estimates the specimen's age at less than a year. It wouldn't have traveled far from its nesting area either, so it may be possible to find nests or egg casings in this area. I've included a photo of an impression of the hatchling. You can find the impression of the hatchling and a picture in the science section under New Species Found.
All right, that was TC with the science. Love the science.
Thanks, TC.
Great science. Now we have a promo from our friends over at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV. You can get a link to their podcast webpage on our site under Other Podcasts. And here's that promo.
So Ghost infected Frank. He passed it on to the other guys, and I got it from his corpse? Right.
Hello, Echo. How are you feeling?
Did I fall asleep?
For a little while. Previously on Heroes.
You had to go and be the detective, didn't you, Matt?
I'm not an aggressive person, but...
Oh, man, there's just way too much on all these channels.
But only in-game.
Everybody lives, Rose. Just this once. In your dreams, Nutloaf.
Bite my shiny metal hat.
Sometimes I get visions.
Walter, what are you doing? Watch and learn, son.
I wish there was some way to find out what's really worth watching.
There is.
What? Who? What was that?
Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is the viewer's guide to genre television.
Where is that coming from?
With its spoiler-free quick reviews and water cooler and the spoiler-filled in-depth back porch discussions, Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is the only resource fans need to know what's on, what's good, and what's coming soon in science fiction and fantasy television.
How did you get into my house?
Join Kevin, Wendy, and Brent each week for the latest in genre television.
I'm calling the police.
You can find Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV at tuningintosci-fi-tv.com.
No, seriously. How did you get into my house?
They played our promo for our podcast, so go listen to their podcast to hear our promo for our podcast, and then you can come back and listen to our podcast and listen to the promo for their podcast.
And then keep doing that until you go insane.
That was a great promo. Once you are all podcasted out.
Can you be podcasted out? I don't know. I'm a podcast junkie, so I'm probably not the norm.
Feedback.
We got a lot of feedback following the premiere episode of Terra Nova, and I'd like to start off with some voicemail. Our first voicemail is from an unknown caller, but she seems very excited, so...
Terra Nova rocks! Yeah!
Okay, this is from a lady in Texas. We'll play that voicemail now.
The show was so badass. I hope it lasts for 5 or 10 years. Stephen Lang is my favorite actor. He's just tops. You're lucky that you got him to star in Terra Nova. Thanks.
All right, she liked Terra Nova, and she liked Stephen Lang.
Yeah, no, I'm with her. Hopefully they give us some time and it'll last a while.
Yeah. 5 or 10 seasons. I'd like either. Better than one, or a half of one.
Yeah. Stephen Lang's a really cool character in this, too. After seeing him in Avatar, I was a little, I wasn't sure how he was going to be in this, because he was so, angry and forceful in Avatar, but he's a really cool character in Terra Nova.
Yeah, that's what I was worried, because I didn't like him in Avatar, because you're not supposed to like him in Avatar because he's the bad guy. You know, and I was like holding on to that hostility, even though it's only an actor, not the same character. But I totally thought he was really good in Terra Nova. And, you know, he's not my favorite. I'd say my favorites right now is Jason O'Mara, Jim Shannon, and yeah, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but Maddie Shannon, she's one of my favorites. I think she's very pretty. She's a good-looking girl.
I like everyone now. I think she does great.
This is probably our voicemail of the week here. It's from Peter in Chicago.
Hi, my name is Peter. I'm from Chicago. I just watched the premiere of the Terra Nova, the first double episode, and judging from the Facebook, everybody loves it. I think the effects are good, like they were on all the previews, but the story is very cheesy. It's going to be probably Dinosaur of the Week. I saw all the promos and everything looks very promising, but you know, over here it's like it's very predictable. They're gonna survive every time. Somebody sometimes, you know, died, and you know, and it's gonna be like that. Like the guy his leg was chewed up or something like that. But it's gonna be always on the last minute. They're gonna arrive and survive, and of course there's gonna be some twists and turns. Who was there before about the Sixers and stuff? But otherwise, I have to say that I'm quite disappointed. And well, I give it a try for, let's say, maybe 2-3 more episodes. But personally, I'm waiting for the show called Alcatraz of J.J. Abrams. I think it's going to be way more suspense and better. Love the show. I mean, your show, not the show. Love the podcast. And yeah, keep up the good work. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, he loves us, so I can't fight him. No, yeah, it's kind of cool to see it from the other side, though, and he said he's going to give a couple more episodes, and I'm interested to see what he thinks, you know, in the coming weeks, and see if it keeps him or loses him. Hopefully it can win him over. It's hard to say Alcatraz can be better. Let's wait and see how good that is, you know, to compare them before, you know, it's even premiered. But, yeah, let's definitely keep in touch with us, man. Let us know, because it's cool to hear it from both sides.
Yeah, it's great that everybody has different opinions about it, and I really like that he's going to give it more of a chance. 3 or 4 more episodes, I think he said. With me and other people that I know that are into television a lot, they have a 5-episode rule where you give it 5 episodes, and you know, to see if you like it. So yes, definitely, Peter from Chicago, give us a call back. Let us know how you're liking the show, whether you still don't like it or whether it's growing on you, because that would be interesting to find out more, like Jordan said. Alcatraz, I'm really looking forward to that show too. It's by J.J. Abrams.
Love J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, anything J.J. Abrams is great. He did the movie Star Trek. I've been a J.J. Abrams fan since Felicity. I was waiting for Jordan to say something about that. Since Felicity and Alias, I love Star Trek, Mission Impossible, and of course, our other can't-miss Fox TV show, Fringe, is a J.J. Abrams show. So Alcatraz will probably be good. Anybody that doesn't know what Alcatraz is about, a long time ago when they supposedly just closed Alcatraz, it's because all their inmates disappeared. And I guess they're coming back one at a time on a weekly basis and doing something. That'll be the mystery of the week.
I haven't even heard of that show until I heard the voicemail. I'm a little behind, I guess, on the new fall shows.
That'll be on my season pass on my HD TiVo, so I'll follow that show. Anything J.J. Abrams. Okay, so that was our voicemails. Thank you for everybody who left a voicemail. We've been asking for weeks, and you guys finally came through, and we got voicemails. Love to hear voicemails. The more voicemails, the better.
Thank you so much to everyone. You are all beautiful.
Okay, and I'll read a little feedback from our forums. This is from Nasty Butler. I found your podcast this morning and listened to all the back episodes while waiting for your first real episode podcast. I really want to like it. I especially like this episode, Season 1, Episode 4, Almost Time. What I enjoyed was the chemistry with your fill-in co-host. Were you in the same room? I think that adds to the chemistry and flow of the show. I don't know if that's possible with your regular co-host or not. Thanks for the hard work on the podcast. I will be listening. Good shows so far.
Thank you, Nasty Butler. Yes, for our last podcast, episode 4, Heather and myself were in our studio together, so it's a lot easier to communicate when you're face-to-face than over a phone because it's just easier. And Jordan isn't able to join us every week in the studio. He lives in Naples, Florida, and Heather and myself both live in Cape Coral, Florida. So it's about a 50-mile drive maybe? Hopefully in the future we'll all be able to get together in the studio at once, so we'll have a better chemistry going on. But, these are the first shows, and they're working their way out. They're working themselves out, and it'll get better as we go along.
Sounds like the fans don't want me here.
No, I don't think that's it. I think it has to do with the whole telephone thing.
Yeah.
We have an iTunes review from JTS10. Very in-depth and fun, and Terra Nova hasn't even aired on TV yet. Great job, guys and gals.
Good, so we got a good review on iTunes. That's great. I wanted to ask everybody listening to this to leave us a great review on iTunes and get your brothers, cousins, mothers, and grandmothers to leave us great reviews on iTunes. There's a whole bunch of podcasts out there right now that review all different TV shows, and not everybody has the time to listen to all of them. Just give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and give us a great review so other people can listen to our podcast and get excited about Terra Nova, and in turn watch more Terra Nova, and Terra Nova can get better ratings and they can stay on the air longer. Thank you, JTS10, for that great review on iTunes. Please, everybody, be like JTS10 and give us a great review on iTunes. We had some short comments from Facebook I'd like to mention. Craig from Las Vegas says, it wasn't a bad show. Looking forward to the next episode, with an exclamation point, so he was pretty happy. Eric Daniel says, I missed it. Sad face. So he didn't even get to watch it. I let Eric know that it's free on iTunes right now. So anybody that wants to see the 2-part premiere episode of Terra Nova that didn't get a chance to watch it yet, go to iTunes and it's...
Or if you just want it on your iPhone or iPad just to continue to watch over and over and over again, you can download it at iTunes for free.
Yeah, I did that. It's on my phone. It's 1.6 gigs, I want to say, and it looks really great on my iPhone, and it's free right now on iTunes. So if anybody you know missed it, show them how to watch it on iTunes. Let's see. Other Facebook comments for Terra Nova. Richard Kelch from Kalispell, Montana said, I watched it. It's a really cool show. So that's good. Cynthia Vogel, it was cool. It was like Avatar and Jurassic Park put together. Very good, very good. And what's this comment? It says, Heather, I love the show. Plus, Jason O'Mara was sexy without a shirt on.
Oh, well, that was from me.
That was from me.
But we already know that.
So you like Jason O'Mara without his shirt on.
But we have totally established that.
So we did get a lot of feedback, and thank you for all your feedback, and please send us more feedback.
I got a Facebook comment.
What'd you get?
Mine's from Amanda Ryder from Fort Myers. She says, it has potential. I might add it to my DVR list. I like action, semi-attractive guys, and dinosaurs. Thank you, Amanda.
That sounds like a good review to me.
A friend of mine also commented on my Facebook posts that she was excited about the show. She had watched it twice, and we might be having some Terra Nova parties to watch the episodes, maybe with some cool dinosaur plates.
With that, we'll give you our contact information so you too can be on the Terra Nova podcast. Let us know what you thought. If you know the secret of Genesis, please call us. Here's the contact information.
Contact information. Hey, did you know that if you send us an email, it just might get read on the show? Please don't forget to include your first name and where you're from. Then, of course, it needs to be sent. So send it to terranovapodcast@gmail.com. It would be so cool to hear another voice other than ours. So if you know how to record an MP3, send it as an attachment via terranovapodcast@gmail.com. We really would like to hear your voice. So much so that we even provided you with voicemail too. Just call us at 707-847-NOVA. That's 707-847-6682. If you make a mistake, just keep going and we will edit what you say before it airs. Don't forget to include your first name and where you're from. Please let us know if there's something or someone you'd like us to focus on. The more input we get from you, the better. Thanks, and don't think about it, just do it. Call anytime.
We had a poll on our website. TC suggested this poll. The poll was, how do you plan to watch Terra Nova? That was also our question of the week. But right now we're doing the poll. Our poll on our website is, how do you plan to watch Terra Nova? The winner was Live with 48.3% of the votes. Coming in second was HD TiVo/DVR with 20.7% of the votes. Web had 3.4% of the votes. iTunes had 10.3% of the votes. And coming in last place with 17.2%, a 13-inch black and white wood grain low-definition television with an aluminum foil antenna. So there's people still out there watching their TV in low def, or people are just trying to be silly.
They're indulging your sense of humor.
Now it's time for Line of the Episode. Not a great title, but that's what it is. It's our favorite line of the episode. My favorite line of the episode was this.
You think they make you serve out your time?
Well, I hope not. I'm not scheduled to be released for another 85 million years.
I just
that
thought it
was funny. I like that part. This was my favorite line of the episode.
I want to go home.
Oh, you want to go home, huh? Huh. I know what you mean. It's all the sunshine, isn't it? It's way too bright. And the fresh air? Whew, boy, does that ever get on my nerves. What's with all these flowers here? I mean, there's too much color, and they're smelling up the place.
Daddy.
You are home, sweetie. We all are.
Yeah, it wasn't really a line of the episode, but it was more like a little piece of the episode that I liked.
I liked it. I thought it was very sweet. Yeah, did anyone else fringe when they were about to stab the backpack? I was like, oh my god, that'd be horrible.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I that was so scary.
Yeah, I kind of figured Zoe was in the backpack when they were going through the wormhole, and it almost confirmed that Zoe was in the backpack when Jim Shannon switched with Elizabeth, the backpacks, and then I knew, okay, because
yeah,
Elizabeth Shannon's definitely going through the wormhole, so she's got to take Zoe. And her bag was already searched, so she couldn't, take Zoe in her bag, so I figured that Zoe was in the bag. But when they went to stab it with the knife, I knew Zoe was in the bag, and I was like, no, don't stab the baby.
I know, I mean, it's obvious that they weren't going to do that in the pilot, but still, I was just like, no, she's too cute. Not her face.
Yeah. Jordan, what's your line of the episode?
All right, glad you guys didn't steal it. I chuckled. I thought it was funny. It's in the first part 1, Genesis part 1. It's Stephen Lang's character, and he's like, together we are at the dawn of a new civilization. No pressure. I dug that one. I thought that was funny.
TC, her line was, the world you left behind fell victim to some of the baser instincts of our species. Greed, war, ignorance. By Commander Nathaniel Taylor.
Not funny.
No, not funny.
But meaningful.
Yes, very, very much so.
That was from TC. That's awesome. And now, an actor profile on Shelley Conn from TC.
Thank you for the intro. I received a couple requests to hear some information about Miss Shelley Conn, the British actress who, in my opinion, is a bit underrated. Shelley plays Elizabeth Shannon in the new series Terra Nova. She's a doctor, the wife of Jim Shannon, mother to 3 children, and the reason why the Shannons were chosen to go to Terra Nova in the first place. Why do people want to know more about Miss Conn? Well, it's probably due to the fact that she's a British actress, and those of us living in the United States haven't been able to see those shows. I've read an article about how Steven Spielberg casted an unknown British actress to star in his new multi-million-dollar production, Terra Nova. And I must commend you, Mr. Spielberg, for introducing Miss Conn to those not already familiar, because I feel she is able to play a wide range of characters very easily and convincingly. And I may be incorrect in saying this, but I would tend to believe that Mr. Spielberg could have any actress play this role with one phone call. I can just picture the conversation with the actress responding, "Mr. Spielberg, you had me at hello." I was extremely surprised to learn that she is yet to have a leading role on British television. I have a feeling that even if she weren't cast in Terra Nova, that she'd probably be very close to starring in a show of her own in the near future. I'd like to now talk about her background because I don't think it's like how you and I grew up. It's quite interesting. Shelley Conn is the youngest of 3 daughters born in North London in 1976. So that would make her either 34 or 35. I think I read somewhere she was 34. Her parents were born in India as British citizens. In explaining about her parents, she's been quoted in saying both grew up with a British culture, were brought up as Catholics, only spoke English, and had British passports. So when they moved over to England, they came over as Brits, really. Growing up, Shelley moved quite often due to her father's involvement with the British military. By the time she was 9, they had already lived in West Germany, Gibraltar, and Basingstoke. It was there that she attended the primary school, St. John's Church of England. It was not only until secondary school, however, that her passion for acting blossomed. This secondary school, the Cranbourne School, is where she was truly inspired by her drama teacher, Diane Crisset. In 2005, you may have seen a glimpse of her because she played a very small role in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory starring Johnny Depp. You also may have seen Conn in the 2010 movie How Do You Know, starring Reese Witherspoon, Paul Rudd, and Owen Wilson. It took me a while to figure out that I already knew Miss Conn from the British series Mistresses. From the title of the show, you should already be able to tell what the show's theme is. Anyway, I just happened to be ill and was flipping through the shows and ended up on the BBC channel. Although there was something familiar about her, I just couldn't recall how I knew her. The reason why I hadn't recognized her right away is because her character, Jessica, has short hair. I liked the show so much that I ended up watching seasons 1 and 2, and there was talk about not making a 3rd season, but I'm glad they did to make sure that there was a proper ending, and I do believe that the 3rd season recently aired. Shelley's character, Jessica, is definitely my favorite character. If you have a chance to catch the show, you'll understand when I tell you it's because Jessica is very unpredictable and daring, yet vulnerable. I'm keeping her character's role cryptic because you just have to see for yourself what I'm trying to say. Shelley Conn's filmography is quite extensive, primarily consisting of television roles. There are over 100 articles written about Miss Conn, and some mention her relationship to her great-aunt, Merle Oberon. Because of this, I figured I'd quickly mention her as well. She was a film star in the 1930s who was born Estelle Merle Thompson in India, where she was known as Queenie Thompson up until 1939, when her then-husband convinced her to change her name to Merle Oberman. She was petite like Shelley and striking in appearance. I've had her picture posted next to Shelley's on the podcast's website. Miss Oberman began her career when she left India in her late teens playing small parts in London. When Hollywood called, she went to try her hand in U.S. films. And when she was nominated for an Academy Award, it was then that she became well known in both Britain and the United States. Her most critically acclaimed performance, some even claiming it to be quote-unquote masterful, was as Kathy Linton in the 1939's remake of Wuthering Heights opposite Laurence Olivier. There was a TV miniseries made called Queenie in 1987 starring Mia Sara. It's based on a book by Merle's nephew, loosely based on her life. I'd also recommend reading her biography. If you enjoy reading, this may be something worth your time. I'll finish up by saying that I was unable to find an official fan page for Shelley Conn. However, I do know that there are many people, both men and women, who would love to see one created one day soon. Shelley Conn retains the qualities that any successful actress holds. Those of us living in the United States will surely see why Mr. Spielberg chose her for the part of Elizabeth Shannon. Miss Conn lives in London with actor-boyfriend Jonathan Kerrigan. And if you would like to learn even more about Shelley Conn, I suggest you either Google her name or go to the Internet Movie Database, better known as imdb.com. You could also visit the forums.terranovatv.net and look under casting characters. I enjoyed researching Miss Conn, and if you'd like to add anything or comment, please do so in the Terra Nova Podcast Forum section under Which Actor Should I Talk About on the Next Podcast?
Oh, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Question of the week.
Question of the week. We had one response to our question of the week, and that's from Johnny Jr.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be back on the best podcast in the world, Terra Nova. It's Johnny Jr., and I'm here with my bear, Brooklyn. Well, let's talk population control. I'm totally for it. I'm surprised it isn't already a law. It's like there's reading the future or something. Our population now is out of control. No matter where you go, there's always someone right behind you, like shopping, in the parking lot, everywhere. Maybe if dinosaurs were alive today, they could help control the population. Yummy people. Don't get me wrong, I love people. You know, I think life would be easier for all of us if a family was only 4. That's plenty. So let's go for it. Have your children spayed or neutered today. Well, until next time, I look forward to more Terra Nova. See you in the future. Or in the past. Boop.
This week's question of the week, for you to all answer, through either MP3, voicemail, or email, or on our forums, is, would you go outside the gates? Would you go OTG? Would you go outside the gates? And why? Me, after seeing what I saw tonight, I would not go OTG, even if a pretty girl led me out there.
Yeah, I'm way too much of a chicken. I'm more like Maddie, though. I'm more like the nervous, stay-at-home, be safe kind of study instead of go do crazy things kind of person. So I'm more like Maddie, and I would stay in and probably watch my little sister. I wouldn't be the person to go out and, knowing that there was dinosaurs, I would be like, you know what? I'll stay in.
Depends. If a hot chick bikini asks me to, I might have to do it then. But no, I'd probably go the chicken route and be like, I like the inside place where dinosaurs don't slash you.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you, Jordan. So let us know what you think about our question of the week. Let us know, would you go OTG outside the gates, and why? Final thoughts, Heather.
It was a great show, and I can't wait till next week.
Jordan.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Hopefully you continue watching the show, listening to us. I greatly appreciate it. Let's go on a ride together. Woo!
I can't wait till the next episode of Terra Nova, Instinct, which airs Monday on Fox. Speaking of next week's show, we're going to get out of here and play the preview for next week's show, Instinct. That's it for me, OTG Albie.
All right, see you next week.
Waka waka.
Terra Nova cannot survive unless we hold ourselves the standards higher than the standards of our past.
What the hell's the destiny?
I don't know, but it wasn't Sixers.
Oh my God.
Between the wildlife and the Sixers, there are a lot of ways to die in this jungle.
You have something that belongs to me.
This is the second time you threatened the colony. Next time I'm going to war.
Did you break it off, or did he?
You just?
If it wasn't for Taylor, Terra Nova wouldn't have lasted.
Don't tell me you believe all that starting over crap.
Then what is Terra Nova really about?
We'll see.
And all new Terra Nova, next Monday at 8, 7 Central.
Thank you for joining us for this installment of the Terra Nova Podcast. Go to terranovapodcast.com each week to listen to new installments of the Terra Nova Podcast. The Terra Nova Podcast is not affiliated with 20th Century Fox Television, Churnin Entertainment, DreamWorks Television, and Capitol Entertainment. While at TerraNovaPodcast.com, be sure to join our forums where you can discuss Terra Nova with other listeners. You can also follow the Terra Nova Podcast on Facebook and Twitter, where we post announcements about our show and all things Terra Nova. Links to our social media pages are at TerraNovaPodcast.com. Support from listeners like you help keep the Terra Nova Podcast operating. You can find a link to donate using PayPal at the bottom of our website. You can also show your love of the Terra Nova Podcast by shopping in our store, where you can buy t-shirts, coffee mugs, mouse pads, and much more. The link is available on our homepage. The Terra Nova Podcast is edited by Albie. The Terra Nova universe and all that it contains is property of 20th Century Fox Television, Churn Entertainment, DreamWorks Television, and Capitol Entertainment. No infringement is intended. The Terra Nova Podcast is a Barren Space production, all rights reserved. From that one podcast. You know, that one with the people who talk about that thing. Google Entity. Critter in the trash.
Mom and Dad tell... Hopefully he calls back. Call me back, buddy. How do you think it's going so far, Jordan Pierce Owens?
Pretty good. Al, don't know your middle name, Burge.
La-di-da, there's a clip right now. Clip right now. Clip right now.
Can you play that too? Like at the end in the bloopers?
They blinded me with muriatic acid. Is that how that goes?
To access the... crap. That produced... Oh, crap. Quetzalcoatlus wings were covered by... Oh, crap.
Alright.
You just gotta say it like that. Alright. That should go at the end. Alright.